Please die so we can be sure of the death mechanic. Not without my ring of death though. Oh, fuck. The new Wilderness Rework is here, but is it any good? Well, that's what we'll be talking about in this video, so whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. If you enjoy all kinds of Runescape content and want to stay updated with the recent news, be sure to subscribe. The Wilderness Rework has completely changed how the Wildy functions. Graphically, I think the Wilderness looks way better than it did before, although some of the more deserted areas could use some more texture spicing. I'll actually be making a full video comparing the old to the new Wilderness in some of the most iconic areas, so if that sounds like something you're interested in, keep an eye on the channel. During my release livestream, I received many questions as to what was so special about this update, and to that I say, well, the Wilderness simply is nothing like it was before. Now, if this update is special is up for debate, but it's certainly very different. The Deep Wilderness is completely packed with Slayer creatures, and not just those shy little wormy boys. No, you have literal clusters of Ripper demons, Abyssal demons, and Wyverns that will attack you all at the same time if you're in their aggro range. If that wasn't enough, the longer you stay in the Wilderness, the higher damage you'll take from volcano bombardment, so the environment attacking you, and monster ambushes. Depending on your own gear and position in the game, I'd argue that the Wilderness is more dangerous than what it used to be. Now, not because an experienced PKer is slower than these monsters, in fact you'll probably die more quickly against an experienced PKer than these creatures stacking you, although that depends very much on the type of creature and your own gear. Again, that's why I said, depends on your own position in the game, but these creatures are always there 24/7, every single world, and the threat system is always active if you're doing things inside the Wilderness. Back in the old Wildy, you may not even encounter PK at all for several hours unless you're in some kind of PKing hotspot. Now, these new Wilderness mechanics also mean that you are no longer able to AFK camp skilling methods like charming moths or safe cracking. Now, these methods are still very possible, although you may need to lower and or reset your threat level while doing these activities, which can be done with the brand new trail beacon items obtained from the Wilderness chests, or by simply leaving the Wilderness and coming back. For safe cracking and charming moths, it's quite easy to just walk towards the Elite Dungeon 2 bank. Alternatively, you can just bring along your gear and some food to take out the threats and then just go back to what you were doing. Some other methods like Cursed Energies require you to be in or swap to PvP mode before you can actually do these activities. Thankfully, you cannot accidentally spam or left click these wisps, as a warning message that seems to be sized just right stops you from doing so. Attempting to pick up Cursed Energy also gives you a similar warning message. Attempting to pick up a Hellfire Bow, doing warbands, and runecrafting through the Abyss also require you to be in PvP mode, which can be toggled by wearing either a demonic skull or by asking Vala to toggle it on near the Grand Exchange Wilderness Ditch. Now, weirdly enough, runecrafting through the Abyss is possible without both a demonic skull or the regular PvP skull turned on by wearing a charged for-in-free bracelet. You know, the ones you use to repel against the Revenant's aggression. I'm not sure why Jagex thought giving skillers a switch for their Infinity outfits was a good idea, but perhaps they'll make it into a passive quest reward in the future. That was a joke, by the way. Obviously, they won't be doing that. Now, Cursed Wisps requiring PvP makes sense because of the bots, but I don't understand why regular Abyss runecrafting should require a bracelet. The entire point of the Demonic Skull is to give you more experience and magical thread, so money at the cost of additional risk. That makes sense. Why would a player also have to be punished for runecrafting without these bonuses? It's almost as if Jagex is trying to please too many different player groups, which results in some just weird solutions on their end. And no, that isn't hate, that's feedback and criticism. People keep commenting on these types of videos like, why are you always hating on Jagex? Guys, criticism is not hate, there's a big difference, and I praise Jagex more than I talk negatively about them. And usually when it's something negative, it's criticism, not hate. Let's move on. So Jagex mentioned that the Wilderness area should be one of the best places to train Slayer, and I'll be honest, that really depends on the task you get. Some tasks are just outright dreadful in the Wilderness and you just don't want to get them. Want to know why? Well, let's go for an example. Do you remember those demons inside Elite Dungeon 4 with that high health bar and that damage reduction passive? Well, guess what? They're a Slayer task now, where you have to kill like 50 or 60 of these Ugandan Knuckles damage sponges that have near the same health as Vindicta. Now you're thinking, no big deal, I'll just block the task. Guess what? You cannot use your block and prefer list for the Slayer Master in the Wilderness. Some tasks just feel like they're better and easier to do outside of the wilderness. For example, wyverns, which, well, are just easier to do in the cave because it's multi-combat and wildy and you'll get ripped apart. Add a few ambush spawns here and there at threat level 10 on top of that and you're going to have a very bad day. In fact, because of these ambush spawns, you're basically required to have Elder Overload salves if you don't want to face any issues. Let me rephrase that. It's just far easier to bring Elder Overload salves as a one for all potion because otherwise, depending on what creatures spawn in the ambush, you're going to need to have different potions. You know, Weird Fire potions and anti-poison plus for wyverns, super anti-fires for dragons, unless you want to pray magic, that is. It's just easier. Now, I'm a big fan of the threat level system for Slayer, however, there's a big issue. These creatures do not drop any loot or provide you a Slayer experience. Do I not deserve a reward for taking down a bunch of monsters that spawned and tried to ruin my day during my Slayer task, or perhaps when I was safe cracking? You need to make doing Slayer tasks in the wilderness with that additional risk more rewarding because otherwise players will see no reason to do tasks here. And you know, as someone who may just have like meh gear, doing tasks here is probably a big pain in the ass. So they want to get rewarded for it. In terms of Slayer points, I again feel like it's not rewarding enough because I could just easily get more Slayer points per hour by completing low tier tasks and doing my 10th task at Ikea Girl, aka Laniakia, because that simply is more Slayer points per hour. The reason it's faster is because you could get an easy task you have on your prefer list, complete that in a short period of time, instead of having to do a slow Hardix Dragon task, or those dreadful demons with damage reduction. Now sure, you could get a quick task like Revenants, but still it's far easier to get those tasks from a Slayer Master where you have a prefer and block list. By the way, quick tip, if you want to speed up tasks you don't like inside the wilderness, you should use an item called Headhunter's Sacrifice, which can be bought on the Grand Exchange. Now 25 points per task at threat level 10 isn't that special in my eyes for a Slayer Master where your block and prefer list don't work and you have higher risk. I personally feel like a base Slayer points rate of 25 per task would be better, that way you can get 40 points per task at threat level 10. The single Reaper point you get per task if you don't die, teleport or skip your previous task is in a good spot if you ask me. The other way Jagex has tried to entice players to do Slayer tasks is for extra loot from the Wilderness Slayer chests, which drop Death Touch darts, Bounty Hunter weapons, Necronian salvage, and a few other things, and are a cool addition, especially because you can stack them up and open them later. I actually lost one of mine on death, which is a shame, but likely intended and fair in my opinion. Overall, I'm glad to see larger clusters of certain demons like Abyssal Savages or Lords and Beasts together, and I also really like the fact that players have access to Onyx and Hardix Dragons without having to lock them in Karamja now, especially since the Elite Dungeon 2 method was patched. Very cool. I will say that removing demon specific tasks and changing them to cluster tasks is a much better choice because if you get Abyssal Lords as a task and you kill them near the Abyssal Beasts, you are just blocking yourself and slowing down the task from progressing. It's far better to have an Abyssal Demons task and get Slayer experience and kill count from both than just the Abyssal Lords. Now people kept claiming there was a PvP bug in the Rev Cave or something with familiars being attacked, although during my live stream I wasn't able to attack, tag or skull myself by having a familiar active or someone else's familiar active, even in the Rev Cave, and I tested this as both the person with and without the skull with different abilities. I'm not sure what happened there. It may have been fixed quickly by the J-mods, or it may have never existed in the first place. I'm not sure, maybe there was more to the bug, but for now it seems like a massive hoax until I see video footage of it. There were plenty of other bugs, but those were addressed quite quickly. By the way, in case you're worried, Jagex actually took a snapshot of every single player's account just before the Worlds went online for the update, so if you lost something, I'm sure you'll be able to get it back through the support system. Also, if you haven't already, grab the Infernal puzzle box from the floor in Elite Dungeon 4, which you can find by looking for a red dot on the minimap. I actually didn't even know this, by the way. It's kind of embarrassing. And you can upgrade it by taking it with you in the wilderness and killing 144 demons to get the persistent rage archaeology relic power inside the wilderness when you have it with you. You also get a buff from completing the new quest, which is a pretty simple quest to do and only takes about 20 to 30 minutes. And if you want a guide, be sure to let me know. I'm not really sure if I should be making a guide because it's fairly straightforward. But yeah, just let me know. Overall, despite the Wilderness Rework not being what I expected it to be, I'm still happy with the changes and I'm excited to try a few new methods to see if they are truly better. With that being said, we've come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like down below and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.